Hey everybody, welcome back to Full Circle with Joy. So a few minutes to go until the top of the hour, but enough time for us to dive into our final discussion for the day. And I've been looking forward to this one as well. It is 5 steps to find your brand voice. With me here on the show, I have Ken Kamau, who's a coach and mentor. And you've done this from everything from emotional intelligence to image consulting. So karibu sana to the show.
Thank you, Joy.
Great. So maybe we can begin by you explaining to us what exactly is a brand voice.
Now, a brand voice basically is how you talk, is how you communicate and tell people about yourself.
Okay.
As a brand, we keep telling people out here what we do. So brand voice is basically the style you use to communicate who you are.
Okay.
And we have different styles as we are going to look at.
Great.
Yes.
I know someone will be watching this and thinking, I'm not a corporation, I'm not a celebrity, you know, why should this conversation matter to me?
Now you realize a brand doesn't have to be a corporate or an organization. For example, when we look at Joyce, we know Joyce as a brand, and we have people out here who are doing things and their brands. So it's very important even for personalities to understand how to use a brand voice, what a brand voice is and why is it important, because when you use it, it's able to give you a competitive edge.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure. So even for someone who's trying to work their way up into some sort of industry,
Yes.
whether as a famous person or not necessarily famous in the way we usually refer to it, this absolutely still matters.
Exactly.
Yeah. Even
Because-
positioning yourself for the job market.
Yes, because you might lose your clients, you might lose people out here, basically by how you talk about yourself.
Right.
There are certain styles that you might employ that will render people even doubting who you are and why
Tell
you
me
do
about
what you
it.
do.
Tell me about it.
For example,
Yeah.
I'm sure you've had some of these products that ladies use, and when they're being advertised out here, they say, you know, we are herbal, we are organic. But then when you go down to what they really have is not what they have talked about.
Right.
So there is also the bit of what you're talking about should be authentic, should be what you're telling people is who you are.
Right.
So it's very important that you tell people about yourself, and the more you talk about yourself, the more people know about you.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. So for those of you who are trying to start a business or whatnot, you need to be getting yourself out there. You need to
Exactly.
be establishing a brand voice.
Yes.
You may not be advertising on television, but you are creating a client base.
That's
and
true.
more importantly, you need to make sure your product or your service is what it does and is what you say it does and is.
Right.
Okay. So if someone is to sort of introduce themselves, and I don't know, maybe we'll use you as an example. You'll tell us if you feel comfortable doing that.
Right.
How would you sort of introduce yourself or describe your brand voice in like 3 words?
So 3 words. One would be passionate. For example, what I do, I am a director at a company called Fearless International. So we do mentorship and training. And one of the things we are so passionate about is young people. I want to see young people coming out, developing themselves to full potential and being able to become problem solvers, not problem definers. Because you realize out here we have so many people who understand the problem, but they're not willing to go an extra mile to solve the problem. So the first thing, or the first word that would describe a brand voice is how passionate are you about what you do. There's a guy called Jason, and one of his favorite quotes, he said, people will buy why you do something, not what you do.
Right.
People will buy full circle, not because of what you do, but why do you do it? Why do you bring all these guests here to speak about what they speak about? So what are you passionate about? So you have to constantly speak about what you're passionate about through your brand voice.
Okay.
And it should be very apparent. When we look at what you're doing, it should be apparent that you're passionate about what you do.
Wow.
The second characteristic of a brand voice is what we call the quirky. You have to be willing to go an extra mile and be able to beat the limits.
Okay.
All right, because you realize we have so many set orders currently. You can't continue being just like anybody else. One of the things I challenge people I work with is that you're not an added number, right? You're not just a pool of opportunities and we took somebody and we brought into that so that we have more numbers. You need to ensure that you're going an extra mile and being able to break a certain limit. So you have to ensure that what you're communicating is able to challenge your audience, that, you know what, this is how much has been done so far, and we want to help you do much more. And the third thing that might describe is what the previous speaker talked about, the authenticity.
Yeah.
All right. And also what we talked about, don't tell people this is what you do, but on the other end, you do something else. And Joyce, you might agree with me right now, for example, in the branding of the gospel industry. We have so many people who are saying this is what we do, but when you come to the delivery, there is nothing close to what they promised.
Marks.
Exactly.
Oh, no. Yeah.
So you have to ensure that you're trustworthy, so that we can trust your brand. We can be able to believe what you're telling us, all right? So the next time we see you out there and you're saying you're a gospel musician, you're talking about God, we'll not relate you to other things that have happened or you've done in the past. So number one, you have to be passionate. Let your brand voice be able to communicate your passion. Secondly, you have to ensure that you're breaking limits, not being able to do what has already been done, because that does not give you a competitive edge. And finally, you've got to be very trustworthy.
I like that. Passionate, quirky, authentic.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay. All right. So how do you go about actually maintaining consistency in all of that? Because your passion, the passion, at least you've talked about speaking it, but also maybe showing it. And I want you to relate it to the age of social media as well, because that's obviously a huge platform that pretty much everybody has access to.
Exactly.
So how can we translate those things onto that platform?
When we're talking about a brand voice, you realize that there are some vocabularies we are going to use.
Okay.
So it's very important that we don't describe ourselves beyond what we can offer. All right. We are not going to tell people out here that the product we are giving you, or, you know, personally as Ken, I'm able to change your organization, you know, from being a manufacturing to being a praise and worship, and I'm not able to deliver. So I have to be consistent. So the things that I am promising on the receiving end, on the action end, there has to be consistency. We have to see what you promised is what we are actually seeing. And we have so many brands that are suffering with that. And research has shown that 23% is a revenue increase you can have when you employ consistency.
Wow.
All right, 23%.
That's huge.
It's huge. You know, people have employed all these other things. There is skill, there's professionalism, there is a lot of research. But when you lack consistency, you're going to lose your clients. If one of these companies that does food products today comes and tells us, you know, our food product today has this and that, then tomorrow they're telling us it has this and something else, it's going to lose people at the end of the day. So you have to ensure that you're consistent. You know, when we are watching Full Circle with Joyce, we are sure that we are going to get hope today and tomorrow and the other day. Let it not be, you know, sometime later we're going to get different things that are way beyond what you promised. So we have to really ensure that there is consistency.
I love what you're saying, because if you think about it, that's how restaurant chains were built.
Yes.
Because they've been able to figure out their formulas.
Exactly.
So that when I order from this restaurant here in South Sea, and I go to its branch in Lavington, it's the same meal.
Exactly.
It's the same product.
Yes.
So that's absolutely important. And the thought that came to mind when you were talking about this, I think of, say, carpentry and you know, those type of works, or interior decor, for example. One of my personal pet peeves is when you're looking to start a business, or you're looking for a vendor, and they have all these really nice glossy pictures on their pages, and they say, we can do this, but it's not their work.
Exactly.
And so when you go and order, you don't get the picture.
Right.
How does for the one who is establishing their brand, and this happens everywhere. I've put my face on many hair salons pages that I've not ever stepped into. But, you know, for someone who's trying to establish a business and they want to be able to show clients what they can do, what's the right way to go about it?
Right.
You know, is it taking other people's pictures and saying, I can do this, you know, just believe in me, I can do this? Or what do you do?
Just be trustworthy. and just look at the strengths you have right now. There's that thing we call the SWOT analysis. What are your strengths right now as you're beginning as a brand? What are your strengths right now? You know, just deliver on those strengths first, and then there's something
Showcase
we call,
those
yes,
ones.
those what that you have. You'll have clients for what you are providing right now.
That's right.
Right. So don't go very far. Don't run too fast, because you will lose it at some point. And one of the things that is so fragile with your clients is trust. When you lose that, you can never regain it.
Yeah.
And you don't want to continue rebranding yourself. Today you're rebranding, you know, a year later you're rebranding. You have to ensure that what people know you for today is what they're going to know you for forever, or for a long time, until you develop another brand.
Sure.
So for those who are beginning, look at your strength right now and promise that and deliver that. Now work on yourself in the closet, right? Don't come and work on yourself on the public. You're telling us this is what you can deliver, but in real sense, you're not able to give us that quality.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because no customer wants to be the guinea pig. No one wants to be
Exactly.
told that you. I've never done this before, but tunaweza jaribu.
Tunaweza jaribu. And you've also seen some people also order some clothes online. You know, when you're looking at it from Facebook, it's looking very lovely, but when you have it on you, it's something else.
Absolutely, absolutely. Oh my goodness. I think many of us have had those type of experiences. But
Right.
touching on some SMSs here, someone is saying, on the topic of brand voice, can you fake your personal brand? As in like faking it until you make it? And I love this question because
Right.
it's very sincere.
Right.
And I think a lot of people would be in this point.
Exactly. Yes, you can fake it until you make it, but you need to realize what you're putting at risk. That is trust, right? You might be giving a fake brand out here, but guess what? When people really realize what you're offering is not what you promised, you're going to lose them on the on the platform of trust. And when you lose them on the platform of trust, you might not get them back.
Yeah.
So it's good to fake it until you make it, but be wise even as you're faking it. I'll give you an example. When I was beginning what I do, I remember going to a certain high school, and I said, you know what, I want to do this. I'm able to develop leaders. And I stood in front of the prefect body, had a very short voice, and I was really skinny. Okay, sisemi nimenona, but you can imagine at that time I was really small. And I tried to say things, I tried to overpromise, and people realized, Ken, this is not for you.
Yeah.
So I had to go back and develop myself,
Okay.
so that when I'm coming back again, I'm able to deliver on what I promised.
Absolutely,
Right.
absolutely. And I guess that's the other thing. It takes time.
Yes.
And maybe we need to, again, like we always say here on the show, we need to be very patient with our
Yes, yes,
journeys.
yes.
Because there's lessons, there's refining that happens in those seasons of, you know, progress and of being sort of molded into what you need to be. Because that's then part of the goal is also creating that solid brand voice, and that's really only going to take time.
Yes. And I love working with young people, Joyce. And young people out here say we don't have capital, but you realize that the biggest capital for a young person is time capital. Because when you have time, you're able to develop yourself. And, you know, time is able to give you that leeway to be able to do something in a greater way. Because when you talk about people like Moses, when they were in Pharaoh's house, they were not able to deliver the children of Israel. But give Moses time. He'll be able to come back and do miracle signs and wonders.
That's right.
And deliver the children of Israel.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like it. I like it. There's apparently, okay, as I get ready to wrap up here, there's a we're this, not that exercise.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Very important. You realize that we have products that we're offering that are almost the same.
Yeah.
For example, the show that you do, we have other shows that are being done. The company that I work with, what we offer, some other people are offering. So to be able to have an edge against your competitors, you have to be really distinctive and define yourself very well. This is who we are, this is what we do, and this is not what we do. For example, you might find in the comedy industry, somebody is pushing their brand. It's good to define yourself that yes, we are fun, but we're not childish, right? So that if I'm a grown-up, I'll identify with your brand, okay? So that I know when I tune into what you're telling me, I'll
Right.
find my space, I'll find something that I can relate with.
Right.
You can also define yourself, I'm not informal, but I'm not also sloppy,
Sure.
right? In as much as I'm not informal, you're going to get substance in what I do. So it's very important for a brand, for everybody, to be able to define this is what I do, this is what I am, and this is what I am not.
Ni kama mimi kusema I'm a hype man.
You will lose us.
No, it won't work.
Right.
Wow, Ken, thank you so much. I
Thank
think
you.
this has been a great conversation.
Yes.
It's very subtle, the sort of things that go into building a brand. But I
Yes.
like how you really emphasized consistency.
Yes.
Because that's what actually then helps build our credibility.
Right.
And that this conversation applies to everybody really across board. Even the small business you're starting today, you never know where it could grow into and what it could become. Right. So thank you so much for shedding light on that.
Thank you.
And please do let us know, how can people get in touch with you?
Right. You can follow me on Facebook, SkyVKen. You can also follow our website at Fearless International. That is www.fearless-int.co.ke. www.fearless-int.co.ke.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate you. Some quick feedback here. Someone here is saying, hey Joyce, Carol from Juja, enjoying today's segment. I have a question. If you're asked to explain yourself, or rather a panel asks you to tell them about yourself, what are the appropriate responses you should respond with? And that's interesting. Again,
Yes.
it's still talking about a personal brand.
Exactly.
But maybe very quickly you can comment on that.
Now, where people lose it in an interview is when you tell your panelist what you've already told them on your CV or on your resume. So when you're asked to tell people about yourself, you know, avoid what you've already stated in your resume, and tell them something outstanding about yourself. For example, you're able to handle certain situations, or you've observed something as you are entering the company, and you're able to deliver on that. So ensure that when you're talking about yourself, avoid what you've already talked about, and talk about something that is a strength that could be helping the company in a certain place.
Fantastic. Someone here is saying, enjoying the show from Rongai. This second hour has really taught me a lot. Na amesema hiyo coat Ken amevaa iko smart sana. Please tell him that. Nimemwambia.
Thank you.
Thank you once again, Ken, for being here today. And as I wrap up, I do have the contacts for how you can get yourself a copy of the book that we reviewed today. And I remember it's on offer for 668 shillings, I want to say. And the number is 0710 806 055. I'll read that again. 0710 806 055. You can contact that number and get yourself a copy of the book, which is on offer today. At 680 shillings. Yes, thank you for that, Dan. The book is 680 shillings currently. All right, guys, thank you so much for being here today. It's been a great day. We do appreciate you for your company, and thank you to all of my guests as well. Let's meet here tomorrow for even more Full Circle with Joyce. Until then, God bless you. Ciao.